don't know if you remember, Kimmy, but that first day that Hillary announced on April 13th, I called Kimmy, and Zach and Roberta had given me your number, and then we got to know you, and Alana Mounts, who's one of our regional organizing directors, I believe it was like their second day here, and I was like, how's Rena going? She's like, I'm driving to Douglas County today to meet with Kimmy to talk to her about the work that we're trying to do. So thank you so much for your support and all the Dallas County Democrats for joining us today. I don't know how much you have been following this, but we are on the 4th day of our Every Nevadan tour. So Monday morning we left Las Vegas, went to Ely, Winnemucca, Fallon, Fernley, Elko, Reno, Gardnerville now, Lovelock, Curry, and a few other places in between, and we've had the time of our lives. One, Nevada is incredibly beautiful. If you haven't seen the Ruby Mountains, please go see the Ruby Mountains.
Oh yes, they're awesome.
They're absolutely stunning. But the purpose of this trip has really been to listen and to learn about the issues that are affecting every Nevadan. We began this trip with a hypothesis that, you know, what Reno Nevadans care about is really different, or could be different than what Douglas County cares about, or Summerlin, or downtown Las Vegas, or Ely. And every single stop, we found that to be absolutely true. Of course, there are some common threads about the economy and education and ensuring that we have a champion in our corner. But our number one focus is really learning. I don't know how many of you might have been involved in the 2008 campaign, but our state director then is now our campaign manager nationally. His name is Robbie Mook. And when Robbie was here in May, Cindy, you were there. I think maybe a few others of you were there at the meeting in Carson City and met with them. There are two things that Hillary said to him when she decided to run. One is we're going to take absolutely nothing for granted. We know it's incredibly important that we work to earn every single vote. And that begins for us with Democratic voters. That begins with us with, I believe, 8,418 registered Democrats, 4,814, I might have mixed the numbers around, but about 4,000 registered Democrats here in Douglas County, engaging them, talking to them about the issues that are important with them, listening about issues they care about, really helping inform our platform as we move forward. And two is that we are building a long-term organization. So what that means for us here in Nevada is ensuring that we're prioritizing the Nevada caucus, right? Those two for us are tied hand in hand. So we're going to do everything we can to work with the party to ensure that we're running a strong, organized caucus and that we are turning out as many caucus goers as possible so that, you know, for us, when February 20th comes and goes, we end up with the most amount of caucus goers and the most amount of delegates. But the first and most important step of how we get there is really listening to the issues that are important to Nevadans. So when we kicked off this campaign on April 13th, our first step was re-engaging all of those supporters that had been involved back in 2010, 2008. I know for me that was particularly special because I was a field organizer then here in Nevada for Hillary Clinton. So this is where I got my organizing chops. So it was incredibly important for me to work to re-engage so many of those precinct captains that had worked so hard for our campaign. So we've been working with them, also with community leaders, organizations that were supportive, really trying to re-engage, for example, labor groups that have been really excited. I think the first initial reaction that we've gotten, especially coming off of the 2014 election and this past brutal legislative cycle, has been, let's get started, let's get to work, let's find common ground, whether it might be X progressive issue or the fact that we know that we need to work to register more Democrats. Let's do it hand in hand together. The other thing that we've been doing this summer is really trying to build our capacity. So for people that are really excited about our campaign and who really want to get involved early, we are meeting them wherever we are. This tour is one example of that, and we're going to continue to do events like this across the state. Another example is right now in Reno, there are more than 50 people talking about immigration reform and having a Spanish-speaking organizing meeting. We've had poetry slams in Southern Nevada. Hillary was here for a Veterans Roundtable in Reno just a few weeks ago. So we are really taking that in earnest and trying to find those issues that are really important to Nevadans. To that point, and Kimmy, I know you were there, Cindy, I know you were there, maybe some others of you were at that event, but the way that that event came to be is we were at a house meeting a few weeks prior, and it was an LGBT house meeting, and we opened it up for questions, and people had different questions about, you know, for example, where does Hillary stand in terms of the where we thought the Supreme Court ruling might end up, or, immigration in terms of how that affects, gay citizens looking for asylum, or whatever the case may be, and a lot of the issues pertaining to LGBT rights. But then there was a question that was asked about veterans, and it was a woman whose husband had returned from Desert Storm, and he returned 100% disabled, right? And that really affected their family in terms of the care that they got, in terms of the job opportunities he had. And we got to thinking, veteran issues are important to every inch of the state, and we have heard that in just about every meeting, right? How we treat our veterans, and how we ensure that we are taking as good of care of them as they've taken of us. So we had a roundtable in Reno, and that conversation was a really honest conversation. Hillary didn't speak for 60 minutes straight and say, this is my speech, and this is my speech, and go volunteer and do this. But she did say, these are my values when it comes to veterans issues. This is where I stand. And where I stand is side by side with our veterans. And then she had a one-on-one conversation with people from all walks of life, Democrats and non-Democrats, activists and non-activists, veterans and, family members and military families, and talked about the challenges that they face. And at times when they shared their challenges, she said, well, what do you think can be done about it? It was not a lecture. But it was what can be done about it. And that's really been the focus of our campaign, is those one-on-one conversations, listening, really helping inform our policies, really helping us define what being a progressive means this day and age, right? Increasing wages, ensuring that our economy is helping people every step of the way get ahead. Michelle and Han have heard me say this time and time again. Our first meeting was in Ealing, and it was incredibly sobering. There was this woman, Lorraine, there, who's a retired educator, who said that she and her husband, who are retired, are clinging to the middle class. That is not doing right by our educators. That is not doing right by folks who have done everything right, who have paid into their retirement, who have always paid their bills, and who are great Americans. That's just not right. So every single day and every single week, from this point through the primaries, through the caucus, you're going to see a few things. One, we're incredibly focused on the caucus and ensuring that we're organizing for that. So that means helping find caucus locations, helping find caucus leaders, precinct captains, in some places, county captains, right? If that is what we need in a rural community, then that's what we'll find. In some cases, it might be divvying up the community. That's what we'll do. The other thing that you're going to continue to see is Hillary rolling out policies that are really important to Nevadans, that really affect all of our families, whether it be access to affordable college education, whether it be continuing to address the challenges that Wall Street has and really cracking down on them, whether it is addressing climate change, energy, the laundry list of issues and how that affects Nevada, whether it be the Affordable Care Act. We know it's a move in the right direction, but where does she land on this? And a lot of these policy rollouts will be based on the feedback that she has received from folks like you and from folks all across this great state. I think what you will see out of her is seeing that she is a progressive and takes a backseat to no one when it comes to those issues. Now, you mentioned women's rights, we mentioned a few other issues, and why I started working for Hillary is because there isn't a time in my life where I don't remember her being a champion for children and women. And that to me is incredibly important. As somebody from South Texas who, Donald Trump was down there today. A perfect example of why we need strong leaders to really look out for us and for my family and for my nieces and nephews, ensure that I know that the person that's going to be in the White House next is going to continue to be a fighter and a champion for